What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best quasi-new metal podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious Tim. Tim, how's it going?
Great. Feeling
All
great.
right. So what are we doing this week? Well, this week, everybody, we're going to try something a little bit different. So Tim and I sat down and we created a list of a bunch of albums that we could do deep dives on. However, unscripted. No notes, no preparation, I'm not even really listening to the stuff. It's just rattle off a bunch of albums that YouTube that we both thought we could do a unscripted deep dive on. And what we did is we lumped them together in groups of five. And what we're going to do is this is the first episode of the series. We're going to try something new. We're going to see how well it actually goes. So what you see up on the screen right now is a random number generator. For those of you listening to the audio, we have a random number generator up on screen. We're going to pick a number. We're going to have the algorithm pick a number between 1 and 5. And that number will correspond to the list in the album, to the number of the album in the list that we are doing. Again, this is number 1 to number 5. But going forward, Tim, I think maybe we just do one master list and pick a number between 1 and N, but here we go. All right, so what do you think?
What do I think the number is going to be?
Yeah, guess.
I
Take a
don't even know.
guess.
2.
Okay, you're taking 2. I'm going to take 3. All right, and the album we are doing this week is generate number 1. Number 1 is Fear Factory and Obsolete.
Nice.
All right, so let me stop sharing. All right, so let's dive in a little bit. I do want to pull up Wikipedia just so I know I'm not speaking totally out the side of my mouth. Tim, what year was this?
Was it 98?
Fear Factory Obsolete was July 1998. Yes, you are right.
Nice.
This was Roadrunner Records. This was the follow-up to Demanufacture. So, Tim, what were you expecting when this album first came out? Oh, wait, we didn't even hit record.
Yes, we did.
Is it recording?
We're recording.
Oh, it doesn't show it on my screen. Whatever. So Demanufacture comes out, huge, right? Breaks them wide open. Remanufacture comes out, and the nerds that like remixes like me, we're into it. What were you expecting?
Well, obviously, I'm expecting more of a demanufacture feel, but what we got was
Right.
we got kind of demanufacture. We got more groove put in there because tracks like Shock, Edge Crusher are live staples to this day. But them 2 tracks right there they're groove machines, man. And I think a lot of people listen to them. They go, "Oh, it's new metal," but then you get the track 3,
Yep.
which is let's see no notes here.
Well, no, I would Tim you can pull up Wikipedia. You can pull up Wikipedia, but you and I don't have any like prep notes. Yeah.
I'm gonna do it without Wikipedia.
Okay.
Track 3 is something Devourer.
Smash or Devour.
Smash or Devour. That track is right back to Fear Factory, right back to Demanufacture era, I think. But them first 2 tracks, man, I mean, because when we just seen them live, they open up with them 2 tracks, right?
Yep.
And they were killer. But I think a lot of people take them 2 tracks and they're like, "Oh, this is new metal." It's not, man.
Well, I mean, obviously, you're going to have it's going to sound, there's going to be not influences, but it's going to sound of the time. So you can't help that bleed. But you have Shock, then you have Edge Crusher, right? But then you have the stuff like Descent, or, I mean, the last 2 songs of the album, Resurrection and Timelessness, like this is Burton singing.
Yeah.
And I actually think those songs make the album.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like High Tech Hate, all that kind of shit. Yeah. Great.
Because I think you need that level of comparison, right? That contrast. And Demanufacture was so heavy in a good way. And this opens up with some heavy tracks. But then they have the upright bass in Edge Crusher, right? Which adds, to your point, there's a group, there's even a little bit of sort of a hip hop feel to some of the songs. And then they have him singing, like Burton actually singing, which, I mean, he did it on the Dog Day Sunrise cover and he did some other stuff. But this is like, he shows that he can actually sing, and they can write a song that goes with his singing.
I'll tell you what, man, one of the most epic parts of this record is the bridge part in Smash or Devour where he's salvation.
Yep.
Like, come on, dude. And then that double kick part is ridiculous. Like this record right here, like I love it, man. Probably in my top 10 of all time, but it just Demanufacture to me is just a masterpiece. This record is pretty close, but there's just something missing from this record that is in Demanufacture, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what it is though. But since you have Wikipedia pulled up, you can be the Tim for the deep dive and give us some facts here.
All right, all right. So, album comes out on July 28th, 98, with the limited edition digipack out on March 23rd, 99. It was recorded from February to May in 98 at the Mushroom and Armory Studio in Vancouver. Total runtime 48 minutes, which is long, but not
I
as long as a lot of the other albums that were out back then.
feel like that's kind of short, actually.
Uh, yeah, I guess comparatively from that for that time period, yeah, because everything was about an hour. Everything was about an hour. Preceded by Remanufacture in 97. An album after this would be Resurrection, which was the EP, came out after this. They began production and re-recording in late 97. They actually paused it when they were open for Ozzy Osbourne and a reunited Black Sabbath over in the UK. Let's see here. Dino Cazares used a 7-string tuned down to A for this album, which then led Christian Oldie Wolbers to using a 5-string bass. Let's see here. Edge Crusher features Wolbers playing a stand-up bass that was given to him by Biohazard bassist vocalist Evan Seinfeld.
Oh.
Um, and there was hip hop scratching in the breakdown of Edge Crusher, which I know some people were like, eh.
Well, there goes what people say. Oh, it's new metal.
Yeah, yeah. But this also, so this carried forward the concept album that they did at Demanufacture. It was inspired by Boys from Brazil, Brave New World, 1984. Oh, excuse me. And Arthur C. Clarke's 2001: A Space Odyssey. So very much a technology thinking forward mindset, like going into the concept. The story is set in 2076, where machines have taken over mankind, inspired by a band's belief that humanity has become too reliant on technology. Well, ain't that the truth?
Did you say from 1776?
2076.
I was about to say, yeah. I'm like, wait a minute.
Now,
It's a
set in
little early.
2076. Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, what kind of truth to say that man has become too um reliant on technology. Look at the kind of insane shit we got going on now. But the album breaks down into certain scenes. The scene one is Shock, Edge Crusher, Smasher, Devour, and then Securitron Police State 2000. And then scene two, and this is the only song in scene two, is Descent. Descent is about the fall of mankind, but also my fall. I fell into these depths where I couldn't pull myself out, lowest of the low. Um, Depression. And that song is beautiful. Like, it
Yeah.
really is beautiful. And then we go into scene three, which is High Tech Hate, which is a political song about weapons of mass destruction. Let's see here. Obsolete, which has the spoken word intro by Gary Newman with his voice being distorted. Um,
Think you're
Resurrection.
think you're forgetting freedom or fire and
Oh yeah, Freedom or Fire is in there. Yep. I'm sorry, I missed that one. And then we have Freedom or Fire, Obsolete, Resurrection, and the scene and album end with Timelessness.
which is a
So,
fucking beautiful track.
oh, it's amazing. Like, the whole album was absolutely amazing. I remember this coming out, and to your point, Tim, I was kind of like, I wanted more of Demanufacture, but it worked. This was one of
It
the
worked very well.
this was one of the albums that I could put in the player when my girlfriend was in the car at the time, and she wouldn't get mad because the singing offset the heaviness.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, them first two tracks kind of take you for a ride where you're like, oh, this is super different. But then like I said, you get the Fear Factory demanufacture era right away after. But then they definitely, as the record goes, they go into more of a different angle. But I think the angle at the time worked perfectly because the bands coming out at that time where you had to be a little different because there was so much shit coming out at that time. Because the late 90s, dude, I think from the late 90s on till now, I mean, music, it's just every month it was just like bang, 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 bang. And like nowadays you get that same bang, 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 but most of these bands these days, you're like, they're very forgettable. But I feel like in the 90s, most of the bands that came out, they were they were there and you remember them. You know what I mean? Do
Yep.
you get what I
Yep.
mean? Like I
Hmm.
don't remember most bands these days, but in the 90s, early 2000s, I remember all that shit because it was like what like the conversation we just had with Lance, like it was meaningful back then. Nowadays it's kind of like, oh, another fucking run of the mill band.
Yep.
There was no
Yep.
run of the mills here. There was one hit wonders and all that shit, but the run of the mill thing, it wasn't really prevalent back then at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was a lot more, Tim, we've talked about this. It was more difficult to release music. So a lot more went into it, a lot more thought and intent. And because there wasn't so much happening so fast, things got time to breathe and kind of do different things.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and you could think about the whole Roadrunner thing. I mean, Roadrunner back then was just putting out gems. I mean, come on, dude.
Oh, they were on fire. They were on complete fire for a good couple years, good 5 years.
And
Almost everything
it's
they touched. For every when I think about that time frame, what were some of the duds? Uh, the only one I can think of is Karma to Burn, and that's only because it didn't really fit with the rest of what they were doing. But I mean, Machine Head, Fear Factory, Sepultura, Biohazard, Nail Bomb, GZR, all that stuff was just it was all cooking. It was all cooking. Spine
I
Shank, right?
fucking love that GZR record.
Yeah, it's great. When I think about this album though, one of the things I think about was I've told this story before. I had tickets to see them at the Trocadero. It was the January of '98. It was Fear Factory, System of a Down, Head PE, Spine Shank. And their van was stolen from the hotel. I think I forgot what hotel they were staying at. It was, and the show was canceled. I remember that night going into the city and listening to WYSP, and they were saying that the show has been canceled. The band's trailer was stolen. It was actually found under the wall 3 days later in flames. Um, Fear Factory lost all their instruments, their merch, their production, the lights, all of Spineshank's instruments and production, all of Systems of Down's instruments and production. They were all on that van that got stolen.
Jesus
So
Christ. Only in
I mean,
fucking Philly, man.
only in fucking Philly. But all like, and I remember being crushed. And then they actually talk about on Wikipedia, which is true. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise because most of the cities that they missed, they went back to, and then it ended up being 2 shows in 2 nights. So they did 2 shows in Philly, I think 2 shows in the next couple dates. And I think I told the story. The way it worked is the one night they were selling tickets, but they were also letting people in from the previous show. And then the first night was all people knew, and the next night would have been the previous show. So me and Rob go up to the truck, and the guy rips his ticket, and he goes in, and he looks at my ticket, and he goes, "Well, these are for tomorrow night." And I looked at him and I said, "Well, you just let my buddy in, and we can't come back tomorrow night because we had like frat guy shit to do." The guy looked at him and looked at me and went, "Ah, fuck it," ripped my ticket and said, "Go inside."
You said you had frat shit to do?
Yeah, we had fraternity stuff to do the next night. So that's why we went the first night because they never said, "Hey, if you have tickets from this date, show up on that date." So we just went and got in. But I mean, yeah, I remember being crushed. Like, dude, what the fuck? I took off work for this. And yeah, it kind of sucked.
Yeah, that is fucking annoying.
But I mean, they talk about how, it turned around and all those cities that they had one-offs, they ended up in multiple shows. So, take the good with the bad, I guess. I guess.
Well, at least something good came out of it.
And all these old pages that Wikipedia tries to link to on the MTV site is gone. I'd have to go to archive. So, Tim, let's walk through the album, right? We can walk through the album. I think we can, we'll use some notes here.
Absolutely.
First song, Shock. The
It's
the what's the term for that effect on the way in where it's like fading in and out? Is that a phaser or what is that?
the dan, dan,
Yeah, like what is that?
I guess you could say, yeah, phaser, some kind of phasing. I could be wrong. We
I
could be
don't
wrong.
know what the right term is, but I remember hearing that and then hearing the guitar come in, the staccato guitar, and I'm like, and then the drums come in, and then he hits the 808, and you're like, okay, we're good, it's on.
I think a lot of people don't talk about how good the drumming was on this record too.
Well, I think this is Raymond really getting dialed in. Like he was in the zone. The first album, it was really like It was amazing. But this is, like you said, though, that you used it in the opening line of this episode. They played with groove.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a big part of this record too is Reese was producing as well, so you have all that soundscape coming in because on Demanufacture you had the soundscapes and stuff, but I think it became more prevalent from this record on. Because if you listen to Digimortal, the sound the synths and all that shit are way up in the mix. And
Yes.
these two
Yes.
records, I feel like they're there, but they're not as high. So you don't really get to feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Demanufacture, I mean, Digimortal, it's all over the place. It's way up there. And even the newer records, it's like he puts that shit way up in the mix. But I think these two records, especially this one, it did it justice because I just am not a fan of it overtaking like the guitars and shit. But I think in this record it was perfect the way they had it just droning in the background. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm assuming Reese had something to do with that, but I wish they would have stayed that way. Is he?
Uh, yeah. I don't know. I thought the newest one was pretty good. The last album with Burton, I thought was pretty good. Uh, I got to admit, man, I go back to Digimortal a embarrassing amount.
I listened to that today on the way in from work.
I listen to it all the time. And we've discussed the interviews with Dino where he said, you want us to write a fucking new metal record? Fine, we'll write a new metal record. Um, there are some riffs in that album. The ending of, I think it's Lynchpin, where it's no, no, you can't, and then it goes down, and then the double bass comes in. Like, I'm sorry, there's some awesome fucking riffing on that album.
Oh yeah, yeah. The riffing he did that style of riffing through the rest of the records too. Like he made it.
Yeah,
There's a lot more ska. There's a lot of ska. What the fuck? I can't even say the goddamn word right now.
staccato. I got you.
Yeah, there was a lot more. There was more of that as well, but he definitely had that whole high end fucking parts coming in too. Like he does a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it on the new record. There's a lot of that in there. Them open string fucking set parts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, yep.
He does that shit all the time, and he's a master at that shit, man. His style of playing is pretty much. I mean, if you listen to Archetype, I mean Christian pretty much stole it, but that was the basis of the band. But if right now, nobody can play that shit as good as him. That his wrist is fucking. When he dies, they should take his wrist and
Yeah.
they should fucking like
Study it. Yeah.
they should study it and then they should like make it where it's just like in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like this. Like Dino's wrist. It's like they do something with it. I forget what the name
Yeah.
of it is, but yeah, dude, he pretty much made a genre. I don't know what you could call it, but I pretty much think if you don't have Fear Factor, you don't have a lot of the breakdown parts that bands do now because I've always said it. They're just a shitload of breakdowns that people don't really say are breakdowns. I mean, listen to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the shit. It's fucking breakdown parts that bands nowadays do. If you took some of them parts and you timed it in half, it's a mosh part, right?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Meshuggah. If you put some of them parts and break it down into a half part or a half BPM, it's a mosh part.
Yeah. It's a mosh riff. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's crazy, dude, because like nobody was doing that shit back then. No one does it. I mean, people do it now, but they don't do it nearly as good. It only
Right. Right.
sounds nearly as good because the recording can be, you know, the recording can be done where it sounds that good, but nobody was doing that shit back then,
Right.
dude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is, I mean, a monster opener. The riffing, and it's a great song. Great song. I mean, this is the, hey, I was expecting Demanufacture 2.0. Oh, look what I got. I got Shock. This works. This works. So we go from Shock to, I think one of the more popular songs in the Edge Crusher.
Oh
So
yeah.
what are your thoughts on this song, Tim?
I fucking love this track. I think to your point, this might be their most popular song.
uh, it's got the upright bass. It's got the DJ scratching, which works, by the way, tastefully done. It works. It doesn't sound out of place. It doesn't sound like they tried to jam it in. There's a funk sort of groove to this,
Can you pull
which
up
is
Spotify and see if what the number one song is?
oh, I sure can. Hold on.
Because I'm wondering if this is the number one song, but I'm also wondering how many plays it has. It has to be in the millions. Has to be.
All right, so
Let's
it
get the
does.
top 5 songs
Okay, so what do you? So you guess what's the top song on this album
on this record.
on this record?
Has to be Edge Crusher.
Well, now the question becomes: do we count the? We no. Think about it. This album was re-released with an additional song that introduced them to the mainstream. That's the number one song. The cover.
Oh, Cars. Okay,
Yep,
yeah.
Cars. That
Okay,
15
okay.
million streams. With Edge Crusher right behind that at
All right, so
12 million.
Cars doesn't count because
Okay, so then
that's
it's Edge Crusher. It's 12 million. What do you think is behind Edge Crusher though?
is it just on this record.
Just on this record.
Then it has to be Shock.
So it is Descent with 6.3 million. Shock is with 6.2 million. So it's right
Wow.
behind it.
Okay.
Least played track on this album is Timelessness with 863. So let's see. Fear Factory. Number one most popular streamed song they have is Lynchpin.
Wow.
Lynchpin. Number two, Tim. You'll nail number two. Oh, I'll give you a hint. Demanufacture.
Oh, it's Replica.
Yep. Number three is Cars. Number four is Edge Crusher. What do you think number five is, Tim?
Uh, is it Shock?
It is Regenerate off
Oh,
Genexus.
that's a fucking great track though.
And right behind that is beating out the other song by 3,000 plays. Right behind that is Soul Hacker.
Okay.
And then Invisible Wounds, Dark Bodies from Digimortal.
That's a fucking great track too.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in ages.
Hell yeah, I listened to that today.
And then Demanufacture rounds that out. That is
See,
kind of wild.
I'm not surprised though. I mean, I don't really count Cars because it's a
It's a
cover and all that,
cover.
but yeah. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all though. I do like that as a cover though.
Uh for a for for a cover that Fear Factory should do, it should be Gary Newman's Cars, right? That's weird, electronic, definitely in their lane without them trying to sound like, oh my god, they're just like a fucking alien ant farm. Really? Smooth Criminal? Really? This
Yeah.
actually worked. And then they did the MTV video and they took off.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that shit, man.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
great. Everybody that I hang out with or hung out with when that record was big always hated that. So I'm like, why? Fucking song's great, dude. But back then everybody was on the tough guy thing where I can't like this. This ain't
Yeah.
heavy. But nowadays, people love that shit. So
Yep. Yep.
I love it. So whatever.
All right. So we did Shock, we did Edge Crusher. Now we go to Smash or Devour. Is that the dun 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 dun
Yes,
dun dun
sir.
dun dun? Okay. Okay. So the real tight, and then the chorus is almost a double time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song, this is one of the best Fear Factory songs I think that they have. I just there something happens between the first two tracks and this where it just sets the tone where you're like, this is the fucking Fear Factory I want it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they have the different elements in it, absolutely, but this song right here sets the tone for the record for me. Yeah, and I think the pacing for the record where they put them first two tracks was well done because it gave, if someone new listens to it and they hear, self-bias resistor or something, they're going to be like, oh, this might be too heavy for them. It might be
Mm-hmm.
something too different for someone, but I think putting them first two tracks was perfect because then you get into the meat of the record with Smash or Devour because there's
Yes.
some epic fucking parts on that song, man.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm gonna admit that Smash or Devour and Securitron are the two songs I forget about. They're the heavy songs, but I forget about them because you have the opener with Shock, you have the groove with Edge Crusher, and then the next one that sticks out of my mind is the set where he actually sings. But to your point, and then the Securitron is the which one is that? Is
It's
that's a dun, 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 ding,
yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, again, vintage Fear Factory, exactly the stuff we want to hear. But I remember Shock, I remember Edge Crusher, and then I remember Descent. I always forget those two songs are there, even though they're really good songs.
Yeah, they're probably as a one-two
Solid.
punch. Yeah, as a
Yeah.
one-two punch, they're amazing. But I mean, the same thing with Smasher Devour. That bridge part is fucking beautiful, man.
Hmm.
There and in D Manufacturer, Dino had good riffs. Like Body Hammer is one of the best riffs I've ever heard.
We talked about that when we did the deep dive. The
Yeah.
second half of that album is sneaky good to the point where you probably could have snapshotted the second half, put it in the like swapped A side, B side, and it probably still would have worked, which is one of the rare
Yeah.
albums I think that could pull that off.
Yeah, I think you get a lot more of the Body Hammer riffage in Obsolete because there's sneaky good parts in all these songs where like it's really fast and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, there's a Body Hammer part. Like I think
Uh,
a lot of the riffing on here, I don't know what maybe him changing to the seven string and with that down tune was just like him getting in his groove. But I think a lot of the parts on these records, especially in these two songs right here, are just they just put the band on a different level for me.
uh, so maybe we could do an episode on albums where you can swap the B and A sides and it still works.
Oh,
Because I can tell you on this list, Monolith of Inhumanity by Cattle Decapitation,
oh yeah.
Heirs to Thievery by Misery Index.
Yeah.
Those are albums where you literally take the B side and the A side and reverse them, and it still works because those two albums are albums that I think of have those deep cut bangers where you're like, "Yo, is this track 9?" And
You know,
it's buried. Yeah.
you know what record from back then has a really, really deep cut bangers is The More Things Change from Machine Head. That record, dude.
Yes. Yes.
You could put the last half of that in the front, and that record slams the whole
I
fucking
listened
time.
to that the other day, Tim, and I got to admit, man, I forgot how much I really enjoyed that album.
Well, so between that and Burn My Eyes, what would you say is the better record? That's hard, man.
So here's the thing. Uh the More Things Change has shorter songs. It's tighter. Like you can tell they're really fitting into like what they were trying to become. Like I think it's just tightly it's more, I guess, purposefully constructed is probably one of the script I'm looking for. But fucking you can't beat the intro to the Davidian. Like that album, it's like, yo, get up out of the chair and hit somebody. And I mean, that and Old and Block, and oh my God, the songs on that album are
How
just a monster. Monster.
how have we never did these records yet?
We haven't gotten to them yet.
Yeah, true. We got
I
plenty
mean,
of time, so
we got plenty of time, but yeah, I mean, I just remember picking up Burn My Eyes, buying it from the local record store, and hearing that intro to Davidian and just giggling like, what is this?
and that was what, 94?
Was that 94 or was that 93? I
And
think
you
you're
and
right. I
you
think it
think
was
how classic
94.
that riff is too.
Let's see here. Burn My Eyes. 94, Tim. Jeez. August 94.
That come out before or after Corn?
Uh, I think Corn was in May. Let me see.
You would think people doing a new metal podcast would know this.
We just Corn was October 94.
Wow.
So it was after this.
So it makes sense because then with not Supercharger, what the hell's the other one called?
The More Things Change.
No, the one before Supercharger.
The Burning Red.
The Burning Red. You okay, it makes sense now because Horn gets huge. And then he goes, "Oh, let's do a new metal record." And it's just like, yeah, that
Ugh.
first one's good, but the second one is fucking trash.
Oh, Supercharger. My God, that was so cringy.
Fucking
It was so
awful,
cringy.
dude.
All right. So let's get back into the Fear Factory, right? So we did Smash Devour, Securitron. We go to Descent, which is
I
beautiful.
fucking love that song.
Oh, I honestly I think I at one point when I had, back when I first had this album, it was 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10. Because I loved Obsolete and then Resurrection Thomas. I love that mellow shit. And I remember I had my old Subaru, I had a Discman that my head unit was busted. So I had a Discman with the FM Remember, you used to hook up your CD player too, so you could broadcast to the radio. Or
Yeah.
people are listening to us like, yo, how old are these guys? But I had a Discman mounted to a pedestal in my car, and my girlfriend used to fast forward to those songs because she liked him singing. When they went into the full on Dino, riff hammer, she was like, I don't want to hear it.
Remember when you could put a tape in a tape deck and put the 3.5 into the CD player?
Yep.
That
Yep.
shit is crazy. We
Yeah,
dude,
dude.
kids would fucking be dead if they had to do that shit, man.
Tim, I remember my mom had an 8-track in her Toyota with the cassette adapter. You'd put the cassette in the 8-track and put it in the 8-track player.
Jesus Christ,
Man,
man.
we are so fucking old. All right. So
Back so back to this song we're talking about. The bass tone in that verse,
which
man.
one? Descent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I that makes the entire track for me. And
Mm-hmm.
then the riffing, the dun, 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 I love that shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of them tracks where like you would think as Fear Factory went on, you would get more of these songs, but I don't really feel like this record really never got looked back on. You know what I mean?
No, you're
Because when
right.
you go to Digimortal, that was more of like the newish feel, with still the same. It was newish, but it still had the Fear Factory feel. But if you listen to the records after this, you don't really. They never went back to the obsolete era, in my opinion.
No, they kept moving it forward. They kept moving it forward. But then again, there was also they made this album, then they made their admittedly, hey, you want us to make a new metal record? We'll make a new metal record. They made Digimortal, and then Dino leaves, right?
Yeah,
And they had what Archetype,
and
and
then
then
Transgression.
Transgression, which I don't think I've ever heard. And then it
Eh.
was Dino comes back, right? And it's Genexus and a couple other ones.
Yeah, I think the first one he did was Mechanize.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but if you but back to the feel of Obsolete, I just don't. It's just weird that you never heard them go back to that because the album worked. Because I wonder if this is their highest selling record. It probably has to be.
Let me see. Is there a chart that will show that?
In my opinion, if I think the highest record sales, it has to be Obsolete.
Where can I see? There's okay, Fear Factory discography. Let's see here. Sales. So we have 91,000 Soul of a New Machine, 240 for D-Man, 406 Obsolete.
Yeah, I
Gold.
figured that.
RIAA Gold.
And then Digimortal was probably like another 200.
156 for Digimortal, and then it's 95, 19, 17, 13.
13,000.
For the Industrialist.
Oh, okay, okay. So
And
this is
then
when
and then
streaming was
Genexus
out.
and Aggression Continuum, they stopped tracking EPs, singles, music videos. Yeah, they just say that a couple of the albums went gold. So like Obsolete went all right, Recording Industry of America gold, Aria gold, and then D-Man is Aria gold, BPI silver,
Hmm.
which is the British something. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we were right that
Interesting.
Obsolete's their best-selling record.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then that even makes you think like, okay, our best-selling record is Obsolete. Maybe if we go back to a sound of that, we can push more of a sale. But like you said,
what?
they just kept pushing forward with a new sound. Not
Yeah,
not even a new sound though.
just they kept moving. They kept moving and doing new shit. Like I get it. I get it.
All right, what's next? High Tech Hate.
All right, yeah. High Tech Hate. This is a song I always forget about. This and Freedom of Fire.
High Tech Hate's a great track though. I think if you go back and listen to it, you'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, okay. Freedom or Fire, they just started playing live again. That one is another great track. It's
That's
just
the one
it's
which
just
starts with the cymbal riffing, right? Tick 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 tick
yeah,
tick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a fucking great track. And then the verse part is just like the same riffing with him just singing over it. That song is actually kind of the same riff the whole fucking time, except for the break part, but it's a great fucking track. That whole record is just great. But I think right now, I think after this track, you start getting into the more because after this track, the rest of the album is more just melodic if you think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's them trying to close it out. Yeah. Like literally build to the end. Like just build its way up because like I was I just realized, Tim, after talking through this with you, Shock and Edge Crusher, right? So again, the intro, the funky one. I said I completely forget about Smasher Devour and Securitron because those are typical Fear Factory. Then we end up with Descent, which is, him singing. Then I actually think, me personally, I always forget about High Tech Hate and Freedom or Fire because it's typical Fear Factory. But then they go into the new stuff, right? So trying new things. Obsolete is a monster song,
Oh,
right?
yo, definitely.
It's amazing. Like I yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
People listening to this right now, not watching it, are like, "What the fuck are these two doing?"
Yeah, they're like, these guys are like, fucking, are they having a stroke or something?
I'll tell you what though, man. Doing this without notes is super fucking weird, man. Because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
you have to really know these records to actually talk about them.
right. There were some other ones on that initial chunk of five where I was like, if we end up with that, I don't know how I can go off the top of my head. Like I
I
know
th-
the album, but
I think I know the two records that you're gonna say. I don't want to say right now, but at the end of this, we're gonna.
yeah,
I
we'll talk
guarantee
about
you,
it.
it's the same two records that mean you're gonna be like, "Yep."
Probably. Yep, yep.
And that's why when it came to number one, I was like, "There you go."
Thank God we dodged the bullet with that one. We had a lot of uncomfortable staring at each other.
Yeah, right. Oh well, 20 minutes later, well, there's your deep dive.
So we come off Obsolete, and then we end up with the two of the more melodic songs of the album, Resurrection and Timelessness, which I don't know how you deal with one or the other. Did you know, Tim, that they reached out to Sarah McLachlan to have her sing on Timelessness?
No, I didn't.
They reached out to her and they said, oh, we should have her. I think the producer knew her. So they sent her some of the music from Timelessness. And she was actually, if Wikipedia is to believed, she was into it. She was into it. Because she'd worked with the co-producer, Greg Reilly. So they sent her the track for Timelessness. And she dug it. And then they apparently sent her some songs from Demanufacture. And then she got back and she was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not interested." So they scared her off. They scared her off, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, she heard Piss Christ and she was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah, no, I'm out. I'm good. I'm good. But it would have worked, right? It
I'll
would have
tell.
worked.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what though. I want to get into the Digipack bonus tracks. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, Cars is the first one, but yo, Where Evil Dwells. I know that's a Wise Blood cover, but dude, that song fucking rips, dude.
Uh, so would.
Yeah, that's another good
So
one.
so the Wise Blood, if you're not familiar with them, they are JG Thirlwell from Fetus.
Mm.
This is a weird sort of a British electronic anarcho something band. That is really good. Soul Wound was actually something that they recorded ages ago. Like I think when they did the Concrete demo, Soul
Was it
Womb,
Concrete?
it was called Soul Womb, and then they turned it to Soul Wound and they re-released it. They re-updated it and re-released it. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, and then they had Messiah, and so Concrete. For those of you listening who don't know your new metal lore, this is the album that Ross Robinson produced. That
Yeah.
he produced, knowing he was going to turn around and shop it to other studios as his abilities. And Fear Factory never released it. The label released it. Fear Factory didn't release it.
Mm.
Fucked up story there. And then they have that song Messiah, which I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I have to hear that again.
And then it was another song that was on it was the B side of the Dog Day Sunrise single. It was Concreto or
Oh, okay,
Concreto.
okay.
Don't remember that either.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. I gotta listen to this tomorrow now.
But now I'm looking on Spotify and I don't even see any of those. Oh wait, Obsolete Special Edition. What's on there?
Oh, there's a special edition too.
Yeah, which is so that's the one with Cars. So if you go to the Obsolete regular edition, you get up to Cars. This has Where Evil Dwells, Soul Wound, Messiah, and Concreto. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. That's going into my things to listen to tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick that up while I'm sitting here at my desk tomorrow before I go to class. Absolutely. But I mean, this was the first album of theirs to have. So Reese was on it. Gary Newman did some stuff on it. It was the same lineup, but they also had a string section, right? Who was on both Resurrection and Timelessness. That's the first time they'd ever used a string section, which is kind of cool. It was produced by Fear Factory and Reese Fulber, with also additional production by Greg Reilly, the guy who knew Sarah McLachlan.
Hmm.
Mixed by Reese and Greg, mastered by Ted Jensen, and then Dave McKean did all the artwork.
Which is not surprising at all that Ted did it because he's done fucking everything.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wait,
mean, he literally
who did the album artwork?
uh Dave McKean.
Oh, so McKean, he did he did so much shit. We talked about him before.
Yep.
Who did he do? What's some stuff he's done? Click on him.
Let's see here. Films, music. He has done Paradise Lost, Machine Head, Testament, Fear Factory, Counting Crows, Dream Theater, Michael Nyman, Frontline Assembly. Um, he's done stuff for, oh my God, he's done stuff for all over the place. He's done concept art for Harry Potter movies. Let's see here. He's done comic book shit, right? Illustrations. So he did he illustrated Arkham Asylum, which is the famous Batman graphic novel with Grant Morrison, which is the story with the Joker, which has been turned into tons of movies. Yeah, yeah, he's done
Shit,
a ton
man.
of stuff. Hellblazer, Black Orchid. Yeah, he's got a very unique um he's got a very unique vision to stuff, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, man, this was I mean, it's fun to try and do this without notes, my God. But yeah, this is one of those albums that came out. This was my senior year of college, man. This and Follow the Leader were on heavy rotation. This, Follow the Leader, the Strangeland soundtrack, and you want to talk about an obscure band that I listened to a lot at that time? You remember the band Face Down, the Twisted Rule the Wicked? So they
Faced
were a
down.
Face Down.
Oh, face
Their
down. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
their singer is the guy who sang for The Haunted.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
used to listen to that album all the time because that opening track was a fucking banger.
What was that dude's name that used to sing for
Marco,
the
right?
Haunted? Well, yeah, yeah, that's it. Didn't he
Does
come back though?
I think so. Face Down.
I fucking love the Haunted. Made me do it. That's a fucking great record.
Yes.
While
Face
you're
Down.
while you're looking that up, let's talk about this. So, if Fear Factory doesn't put out a record like Digimortal, what do you think happens to that band? Because I kind of feel like that record kind of made them who they were after the fact. You know what I mean? Like it kind of made their
Yeah.
popularity go up. But if they just stick to the formula they were in, are they still around?
Now,
I don't think so either.
I think they would have done a couple more albums. It's the same argument we made for Incubus and Science. If they had stayed in that lane, they would have made a couple more albums, and it probably would have been pretty cool. But it never would have gotten the notoriety that they got, and because they kept trying to change and do some different things. I think, I mean, granted, they got a lot of mileage out of the Gary Newman cover, right? Because everybody in the late '90s was doing covers of all sorts of shit. But I think they would have made maybe one or two more albums and called it a day.
I think the same thing. I think it wouldn't have lasted as at all. But then I kind of think him being out of the band for them two records and then coming back kind of sparks his I need to show people that I can still do this kind of shit because
Yeah. Yeah.
Divine Heresy, them two records are fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're with Tim Young on drums, holy shit,
You know what
dude.
I always get that band confused with? And I know I shouldn't. Hideous Divinity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For whatever reason, my brain crosses wires with those. I'm like, wait, what song is that? Oh, different band. Different band.
I mean, the singer on the Divine Heresy stuff, that dude's kind of a d bag, but
Who
like
is it?
that dude that was in Doc's band,
Oh, Tommy, what's his name? Tommy Vexed?
Vexed. Yeah, he's kind of a d bag. He's like one of them like I don't even know what to call him. He's like one of them dudes that does shit for like notoriety. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's kind of like a not a shit poster, but he's definitely, yeah, he's kind of douchey.
He's like one of them Trumper dudes that's like everything's Trump this. You know what I mean? Like one of them
Yeah, well,
annoying
he's
people.
trying to be edgy and he's just kind of
There you go.
douchey.
He's an edge lord.
Yeah, he's kind of douchey.
Apparently, he like punched Dino in the face or something, like blindsided him or some shit.
Whatever, meatheads, just meatheads doing meathead things.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, Tim, if they had just kept making, if they had made Demanufacture again, they would have done that maybe twice. That would have been the end of it. If they had made Obsolete again, maybe three times, maybe. But the fact that, and you know what, now that you said it, Tim, maybe it was a blessing in disguise that Dino stepped away to come back because it gave them a chance to he got the chance to breathe new life into the band. Because I remember Genexus came out right about the same time as that one Twitching Tongues album. And I had them both back to back on a playlist. And I would go from Fear Factory to Twitching Tongues to Fear Factory to Twitching Tongues. I loved them because I thought Genexus was great. This was a return to form, and I'd never heard anything like Twitching Tongues before. They're kind of like the early Life of Agony worship stuff. Yeah,
I never got into Twitching Tongues for some reason.
there was the early stuff. No interest, no interest. But what's the name of the album that I really got into? Hold on.
That's the dude who plays drums in God's Hate on
Yeah,
vocals,
it's the
right?
Young Brothers. So Colin is the singer, and then Taylor is the guitarist vocalist, who also is the drummer. Drums for Nails, and Colin drums for God's Hate.
That's right.
What is the album?
The Hard Lord dude.
Yes, Disharmony. Disharmony was the
Okay.
album I fucking loved.
I'll have to listen to that tomorrow as well.
It was. I just thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it
I
was a
th-
lot of fun.
I think his vocals kind of I didn't really like at that time. Maybe I'll have to go back to it and I'll like him now. But
He's it's Life of Agony worship. So if you like Life of Agony, that's what they were going for. But I really thought that album was great. But again, Genexus, back to Fear Factory. I was like, dude, this is the old Fear Factory I remember. To the point where I was listening to it going up to see my brother. I get there and I turn to my brother. I'm like, yo, you got to listen to this. Like, this is old school Fear Factory. You're gonna love it. And I put it on, and he went, yeah, this is really good.
so out of 10, what are we giving this record?
Oh, Obsolete.
It's a 9 for me.
Yeah, it's a 9. It's a 9.
It has to be. I mean, I don't know why it isn't a 10 for me, but it's very hard for me to put anything as a 10 right now.
Well, I can tell you for me, it's not a 10 for me because there's there's 4 songs on an album that I purposely that I not purposefully, but I traditionally skip and forget about. To me, that doesn't. It's not like remanufacture or demanufacture where I don't skip anything. And truthfully, I don't think I skip much on Digimortal. So that will be when we do a deep dive on that. That'll be interesting because I think maybe we do a prep deep dive with notes on that. I think I probably listened to that maybe even more than I listen to Obsolete. I don't know. I got to go back and look.
I'm probably the opposite, but yeah. I love Digimortal either way, but yeah, I would take Obsolete over Digimortal. Both great records, but I'll take
Yeah,
Obsolete.
yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
I'll take Demanufacture over them all, but yeah.
I would take remanufacture over Obsolete and Digimortal and to put had that head explode with that one.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, everybody. So first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe because we really we'd love it. It really helps. Leave a comment. Interactions help. We love to answer. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, listening. New Breed _ podcast on both Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on our Facebook group. Find us on r/new metal. We're always out and about and poking around. So this was a fun one. Hope you enjoyed this unscripted deep dive. And until next time, we're saying cheers.
Later.